Hi, Chanel.
How are you? I'm good.
Good. Let the show get on the road.
You know the job.
Time is money.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kimberly Harrington. I'm Director of Media Relations here today in the absence of Eris Thomas. Welcome to our weekly press conference. And as a reminder, please silence your cell phones. Joining Coach Massey today is Sean Walker, who is on the left, and Avery Hall. We will begin with opening remarks from Coach Massey, and then the floor will be open for questions. Coach Massey.
Thank you. I'm gonna start out with a joke. When we win this, the ones that ain't here today, we ain't gonna let them in the room. We're gonna cook, and everybody gonna eat. We're gonna be happy. But tough loss, and here's why. Everything you talk about doing, you try to build up to, and it's a big game. You don't show up, so that's on me. I'm the head coach. I'm gonna be the main motivator, and we didn't respond as well as I thought we should have. But when you look at games like that, and you have to find something positive coming out of it, we scored 34 points in probably 19 minutes. That's not bad. That's something to build on. But our problem is more so special teams and defensive. We have to stop this run, force people to pass, and then we become a pretty good defense. I thought initially, just poor tackling. You watch the game and then you watch it the night of. From a film study standpoint, there were some MEs, mental errors. So we have to correct that by reducing some of the things that we're doing so we can play faster. In this sport, you always have to be physical, but I think the faster you play, to your benefit as a player, as a team, it increases your chance of making plays. We were in the game at one point. We made decisions based upon what was happening in the course of the game. We went for two at one point, then we came back. We're going to go for two again because we didn't get the initial 2-point conversion. There are some things that happened in the game that I wasn't pleased with, like the block punt. It was a partial block punt. Once the trajectory of the ball changed, we realized our kid blocked it. Now our kid's in the air and he falls and hits the plant leg of the kicker. So I was told that the rule was you can't hit the plant leg, but once you touch the ball, he's live. He's like a quarterback at that point. So with that being said, that was a turning point as well because they got first down because of the penalty. They marched down and they scored again, which increased the gap. So the thing we have to do is make sure when we are being aggressive, we have to be smart. We have to be aggressive but smart. So again, that's on me, special teams guy and head coach. We got what we wanted to block, but the call didn't go our way, so that cost us. So we just got to continue to play. And I'm being lengthy because I'm always leave the glass half full. And what I mean by that is this. A year ago, we beat Virginia State, and they went to the championship game with a 7-3 record. So what I'm saying to you is if we win the right 7 games, we can see ourselves there. And that's the belief, and that's the lie that we're going to stand on and fight on and make it to this championship game. So with that being said, I got 2 guys here that's been playing their butts off all season. We make sure we try to get somebody from offense, somebody from defense. Sean plays offense and special teams as well. I want to highlight my players because they've done some good things and they're intelligent young men. They got bright futures ahead of them. So I'll take all the tough questions. I want to protect my players at all costs. So if there's something you don't understand, you ask me, and I can give you the answer you need.
Coach Massey, when you're down 16-0 after that safety, I felt it on the sidelines, like a little bit of a deflating feeling amongst the guys, but they quickly responded. You mentioned looking at the positive of this game. Is that one of the biggest things that you look at, that they didn't let it keep piling up?
Right, yeah. Well, again, I've said it all year. I think Dalen's one of the better quarterbacks in all Division II ball as well as black college football. So in that instance, we can strike quick. Going in, we were concerned about protecting Dalen against this particular team because they had a real good defensive front. But I thought the offensive line did an outstanding job, gave him time to throw the ball and make plays, and that's what we did. So we never feel like we're out of a game. Unfortunately, to dig a hole against a team that can run the ball like that is really tough because once they got the lead, that's all they've done. Remember last week I talked about they're a 75% run team. I think this game, because of the lead, they'd be turned into like an 80, 85% run team.
You guys played them last year. Did pretty good against them on the run. This year, not the similar story. Is it just that they gotten better, or you guys weren't able to execute from?
I think it's a little bit of both. Byers was a smaller guy, whereas Curtis is a bigger guy. And then in our case, it was just poor tackling, execution, and that's something you can't have when you're building a championship program. We can't have games that are the biggest games of my coaching career, biggest game of our playing career, and then have that type of letdown. Now, I'll show you a comparison and contrast. And what I mean by that is last year, the loss came at the expense of turnovers. This year, it came at the expense of the defense and not creating turnovers. So again, when we put ourselves in positions like that, it's going to make it tough for us. It's a learning experience you hate to have, but we have no choice. We are what we are at this point. We're 3-3. We look to make a 4-game run. We probably going to need some help from somebody because Fayetteville State is undefeated in the conference right now. So we're right back, believe it or not, to whoever wins the South goes to the championship game.
Having this game at your midway point in the season, is it a good test to where this team is at this point and what they could possibly be this season?
Well, it's a measuring stick. Every game is a measuring stick, but this game in particular was a game that really would tell you the direction your program should be heading in. Because this is a good team. They've been division champs the last 2 seasons, and then they went, I believe, like the 3rd round a year ago to the playoffs. So this is the team that's right now, in terms of our conference, this is the measuring stick. And they came out and they played pretty well. But again, and it's not to take a shot or a slide, if we could have gotten to their secondary a little earlier, I think the outcome would have been different.
Coach, to touch on the positivity of the game, looking at Virginia Union's record, you guys were the only team in the CIAA to score 34 points over them. So I know you talk about the errors, but how does that make you feel in the progression that the team is making towards knowing that they were one of the only teams to put up that amount of points on the game?
In my opinion, I think offense is a lot harder to play than defense. Not to slight defense, I'm a former defensive guy, but in all honesty, there are a lot of things that go into play, and it starts with your offensive line. Then you need accurate quarterback play, and then you need big playability by your receivers as well as your run game. So for us to be able to score that many points, it sounds crazy, but I think we exposed them. We've shown people now how you can score and possibly beat them. So we feel good about that. And if we can score against a team that good and has a decent defense, then we should be okay.
Last week you talked about them matching your intensity. Do you feel like you guys maybe came out too intense, or was it kind of where you wanted it to be?
You know what? That's a good question. I'm going to tell you why. I saw all the pregame bravado and mess. I tried not to get involved in that because, one, I want to win the game. But, when guys come in and they step on your logo and then, they spit and then they get in there and they start doing stuff and then the trainer drags his cart. I saw this. I saw with other coaches. So it fuels my conversation or my speech before the game. But at the end of the day, it's like a boxing match. You're going to try to take each other's head off, and then you're supposed to have, sportsmanship at the end of the game. Let me tell you something about this sport. That's hard to do. You done came here, you done disrespect. I wanted to whoop you, but I couldn't, and we didn't. But at the end of the day, we thought the best thing was, hey man, best of luck to you, coach. Best of luck to you, Coach Massey. My team go this way, your team go this way. Because it was very chippy out there. And newsflash, if this thing go as I wanted to go, and I'll say this, all I need is one prayer, and that's to get their ass in the championship game again.
You now face a team that's 1-4 on the season. How do you make sure this game isn't overlooked by your locker room?
Well, we got to continue to do what we've been doing all year. We got to learn to match people's intensity, and they have to match ours at the same time. There's a few things I talk about daily, and when we get to the point where we can do that on a consistent basis, we'll turn that corner. And that's simple. We out hit, we out hustle, we out execute folk, we create turnovers, and we score. Now, when you don't do those things, that decreases your chances of winning. So I'm very repetitive when I say that because, again, that's something they need to register here and then go out and execute. So with a team like Shaw, they're dangerous because they can score. They can move the ball, and defensively they're young. So we don't just say, okay, we're overlooking them. It's one game at a time, and these guys will tell you what we tell everybody. Our most important game is the next game. So we'll keep that mindset. We'll continue to work hard and prepare for Shaw. We're going up to the Raleigh-Durham area to play them Saturday, 1 o'clock game. But at the end of the day, we can't let what beat us this week, this upcoming week, so obviously our emphasis is going to be stopping the run. And then we got to get back to being able to run the ball. I know it sounds crazy because they just threw 4 touchdowns 2 weeks in a row. But what you don't want to do is put your quarterback at risk with a young offensive line. So again, we want to make sure we can run the ball. And one thing about Coach Reese, and I don't know if anybody paid any attention to this, for the most part, he's about 50-50, which is great because you keep people off balance when you're calling games and you're 50-50. And it's obvious, we got playmakers. We got playmakers to the degree, y'all notice who didn't play this past weekend? Deloach. Y'all forgot all about it because we were making plays. So if we had him, and it's not an excuse because everybody's hurt at this point, that probably would make us even more dynamic and more explosive offensively. But those guys that came in, like Mitchell, that stepped up and made plays, they did a good job. JG, Grimes, he made it back. He had a good game. So we can score, but again, it's very rare that you're going to blow people out. That's what a lot of people don't understand. The expectation, we used to be able to blow people out. There's parity in this league now. You used to always, you could check a box when you saw Shaw. You could check a box when you saw Livingstone. It's no knock, but you look at those teams now, they're turning the corner because of what? The transfer portal. You didn't have a transfer portal 10 years ago. You didn't have it 15 years ago. So if you're one of the better schools, from a physical standpoint, big stadium, nice buildings, I'm going there, they're winning. The recruiting has changed because at the end of the day now, it's about the dollar bills. And if you can get kids, convince them to come to your program, and they're pretty good ball players, they should help you for the most part.
For both the players, just how are you guys bouncing back and pushing forward, knowing that you still got, 4 games ahead of you, including the team that, would love to knock you guys off?
Just staying, consistent to what we got going on, not taking any days off, just keep doing what we're doing, as a whole, as an offense, as a defense, as a special team unit. Just knowing that we can't just go into a game like this, just thinking we're going to walk into the park, you know what I'm saying? We can't just, just fall off because it's still a long season ahead and we still got a lot to work for.
I'll piggyback on what he said, just taking it day by day, listening to what our coaches are telling us, executing things they're telling us to execute, and getting back to starting games fast and finishing them fast.
For you guys also, mentality-wise, after the game Saturday, you're feeling defeated, things like that. But how has these last few days been for you guys just to get back mentally on the right pace to come into Saturday ready to go?
Well, just the bond that we hold as a team. We're all brothers. We all love each other. And just the talent that we have and, the potential that we have, as a team, we just come together and, just talk to each other saying, we got to do this, we got to do that, and then we can't just fall out because we lost a big game like this. It happens. You win everything. You win some, you lose some, and that this loss doesn't define how the rest of the season is going to go.
Just like you said, coming together as a team, staying together in the locker room, keeping team chemistry up. We have meetings as players talking about things we could have done better, how we could have helped the situation. So just really understanding that the season's not over. There's still something to fight for, and we're going to fight for it.
Coach, mine is more centered toward and directed toward the administrative standpoint. 2 things. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why we got 15 or 20 seniors that can play, be put in a position where the adversary or the opposition is in the same place, same area. Now, those of us that sit high and look low can see what goes on. The taunting started then, before the game even started.
Right.
Our players, parents, and all never should have been put down there. I'll leave that alone. Some of the administrators are here now, so they know what I'm talking about. The next thing is that we're gonna have to do a better job of, and I don't see Mac here now, I'll talk to Mac later. I know him well enough, he's been with me and I've been with him forever. You have to teach your linemen how to defend themselves.
Right.
When you go up against, and you look at your roster, seniors and grad students, and the portal has changed everything.
Right.
You going up against, in most cases, and that's where I played, so I can talk about it. Mm-hmm. You're going to be going up against men. you have to defend yourself with men. Now, where we didn't get any help was from the female officials. And I'm all about having female do everything, whatever they can do. But there are some things, it's not what they called, but it's what they missed. When you let tackles and ends line up on the outside, and when I say outside, in the backfield, everybody on the corners are gonna catch hell. And all you gotta do is hand the ball to Curtis. Or hand the ball to Tinsley. But it's too late to teach them at that point. They have to understand that. And there are some games you have to gonna decide, you know what? This team is pretty damn good. We're gonna have to do our best. And that is the conversation that you have with your lineman at the halftime. Can't tell them that at the beginning, because it's too late.
Well, Coach, to answer your question in its totality, you know, at halftime, he only had 90 yards. So,
Yep.
understanding he was one of the better backs in the country for Division II, you know, I said, hey, if we can get out of here and keep him to 120 yards with a victory, then everybody would understand that. I think our biggest problem was the missed tackles and his yards after contact. He was breaking tackles as well. So we had, unfortunately, a poor performance of tackling. The officiating part, it sounds crazy, but let me say something to you. When human error, we all have it, we all gonna make it in life. So I'm not gonna beat them up because they missed something, or they didn't see something, or something didn't go our way. But the things that I saw in the heat of battle, I tried to address. If I got clarity with the understanding of how the rule goes, I stepped back on it. So listen, they didn't score 44 points on us. Virginia Union did. So I'm not going to, you know, deal with the officials per se like that. So, you know, it's us, and we'll get better. We're going to get better. We just came out, man, and for some reason we played a little flat in the second half defensively. And, you know, we made the adjustments. We talked about it. I've been, you know, again, Mac's like a son to me. I brought him to North Carolina. He knows everything that I know, and then even more, because he's a former offensive lineman. He understands that play. That's why he's having the success he's having. But with that being said, like life, you know, even though it's a big game, it's a big moment, you know, you want to win. You work hard, you prepare to win. But let me give you this. Understand, the big game is the championship game. The big game is the championship game. So for Mac and his time as a player and my time as a coach, we've been pretty lucky in that. We've never lost a championship we've been in. Together or apart. So again, the big game is the championship game. Was that a big game? Damn right it was. Guess what? This is a big one too, because we can't afford to take a dangerous offense like Shaw for granted, and they come up and score a whole bunch of points, and now we're scratching our heads again. So we'll go to work, and like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And here's what I mean by this one, so everybody understand what I'm saying. What you think we're gonna see? The run game, because we gave up 400 yards. So we're gonna have to fix that. But when we were stopping the run, hey, we felt good. We loaded the balls. We forced them to throw the ball, which they didn't do a whole bunch of. But then when they started outflanking us with movement and things of that nature, we make the adjustments. But at the end of the day, I like the totality of what our guys did in trying to come back by being 16 under in the first quarter. That's hard to do, hard to make up at any level of football. But we did fight, we did creep, scratch, and grab and try to get things together. But they had an outstanding run game, because if you notice, he had 240 yards himself. But then the trio between the quarterback and the other two backs, they had an additional 150 yards. So we were very poor in this particular game of stopping the run. So that's something we're going to have to address. We started today with morning practice, not only tackling circuits and understanding when to strip the ball. You remember the touchdown down in that end of the field? Everybody was going for the ball. Hey, how about make a good sound football play? Tackle the guy and let him play another play. So we didn't do that in that instance, and it cost us. But in terms of preparation, getting the guys ready, I think we'll be okay. Coach Mack does an outstanding job of that, and he takes it personally. And you guys will see moving forward that we're going to improve.
Coach, let me clarify my point. that had no reflection on the female officials.
Okay.
My comments didn't.
Right.
What I'm saying, and I don't care who's out there officiating, you can't call what you don't see and what you don't know. As an official, and I've looked at many of officials as many of you guys and reporters are old. You have to have experience or know what to look for.
Right.
Each official out there has a responsibility. I know that. So you have to know what you look for, what to look for, and how to call what you see. If you don't see it, you can't call it. So those guys that were lining up on the outside, the stands, people in the stand, and those that think they know a little football, don't know a little football. If a lineman gets the angle on you, you're just about done.
Yes. Yes.
And you know that other defense play. And what I'm looking at is the alignment of the guys on the ends where Curtis got majority of his yards.
On the outside.
That's what I'm looking at. And I don't know why this administration they stop me from, from traveling with the team or looking at tendencies. Maybe they know what tendencies are, and maybe they don't. But I wanted to say that, and I wanted to say it out in the open. That was not for the press. That was from me to you. And for any of the reporters here that know a little bit about football. That's the way I saw it.
Well, I do think when you get your officiating crews, you look at the experience. That helps. You have some new people, then you have some experienced people, so you get a group where, even though it's a game, and in our case, a very important game, you get a group that's seasoned to where you can change some of the things. And again, those things for me at this point is like what we try to pull, just pulling straws and stuff for justification as to why we lost. But we didn't do our part at the end of the day, and that's my job to make sure we get that done. And I tell this, and I tell everybody, the season's not over. It may be for some of y'all, but it ain't for us. And we'll go to work and we'll do what we need to do.
Yeah, I watched the game what I could on the CIAA network. Whoever runs the CIAA network, it has a little bit to work with. But as important as this game was, and I don't care who called it, know your mechanics, know what to do, and that game was so important. They talk about it from one end of the coast to the end of the coast, the CIAA. They should have had the best possible people calling the game. I mean, the officials, the ladies, men, whatever, the best people. This is an important game. We're all on spotlight. So let's make sure we look good on both sides of it. You still, whoever scores the most points, who makes the best errors, is going to win. But we had to put ourselves in a position as a conference to not let ourselves be shot in the foot like that.
And I understand that. You got a great point, and I respect that. But I think what they do is they do rotations. So I don't know if they knew this would be a big one at the time they set the rotations. So again, I'm just of the school where you lose is because something you probably didn't do that you should have done. And I understand being on that national stage, you want us all to look good, but sometimes it's just not gonna happen. And it's a little frustrating, yeah, but again, we could have done a lot better. In other words, if they'd got 200, they probably wouldn't have won as opposed to 400. Just being honest, looking at the things that happened in the course of this game. If they got 200 yards, they probably wouldn't have won the game, but they got 400, which helped them kill the clock and kept our offense off the field. We were very explosive, and we had a chance. We had some opportunities, and again, they were able to keep drives alive by way of special teams and defense, not shutting them down and doing things we've been traditionally known to do. So that means there's room for improvement, and unfortunately, that's for everybody in here, especially us as players and coaches. So, and that's what we'll do. We'll show improvement moving forward. And, again, trust me, this is a game I wanted bad for a lot of reasons. Me and John Dale, we talked, because I've never beat them as a head coach. It's been close, but we never beat them as a head coach. So you want to get over that hump as well. So, it didn't happen, but, like I said, all you need is one prayer. And my prayer is, hey, I'll see them again in Durham, hopefully.
Any more questions for Coach Massey or our student athletes? If not, you have any final thoughts?
Well, we appreciate you guys for coming. We appreciate the support. We're going to be okay. These guys have been working hard. We brought guys in. I think the coaching staff is continuing working hard. And I text those guys late the other night and told them, look, just keep sawing wood, keep your head down. You're going to have the naysayers. We talked about it last night on the VA's show. Annabelle, my mother, told me they talked about Jesus. They probably won't talk about you, which we already know. But we got a job to do. And until, somebody say, Rob, you're no longer in that position, I'm going to do this job to the best of my ability. I don't say a whole bunch, but the guys know through my actions I love my players, I love my coaches. But at the end of the day, there's some expectations. And I'm okay with that. And the expectation is to win around here. And it's not too late to win. But if you ain't played this game and you don't understand some of the intricate parts of it, you're going to find it hard to believe that we still have a chance. But that's all you ever want in life anyway, a chance. This is what this institution gave us, a chance. A chance for me to be a coach, a chance for these guys to get an education, to be college athletes. We'll be fine. I appreciate you.
Thank you. See you next week, same time.